Hi, this is Captain Mike. This video is not going to be a tutorial about anything. It's going to be about ideas, and ideas that hopefully you guys can expand upon. We're going to just kind of look at what you can do with a ceramic mold that you make, a ceramic texture mold. Now, in some of my other videos, two of them in particular, I showed you how to make ceramic molds, and they weren't necessarily texture molds, but I'm going to show you what you can do with a ceramic mold, and then we're going to get around to some texturing ideas. The first thing that you can do, well, let's just start from the beginning. You can buy these online. This is about 7 by 13, I think, is the standard size these come in. They come in all kinds of subjects. This one is just butterflies, and it's, of course, it's raised, and when you slump glass on it, you get a negative relief. And of course, the ones that I made are a little different. They're more lined molds, and but it's the same thing. You get some raised portions and some sunk portions, and you can do different things with them. Now, here are the two things that you can basically do with those molds. You can slump glass over them. That's the first thing. That's what they're primarily intended for reuse. You can make just a glass outline like this. You don't have to do anything to it. You can use colored glass, clear glass, float glass, whatever you want to do. And in the case of this one, you can fill all the voids with frit of whatever color you liked, and then you can fire it and you get color on your glass. You can also paint it with various types of ceramic paints and oven baked paints. There's a lot of things you can do, but those are done on glass. The second one that you can do, and I usually do this on coal molds, like this one I showed you in an earlier video. It's kind of cattywampus. So I didn't want to use it for a glass mold, and I got the idea, why don't I put glaze on it? So with the price of clay, you can go ahead and just make these specifically to glaze, and it's not an issue. They really work great. You wouldn't want to glaze these because you have to purchase them, and that's rather expensive to put glaze on them unless you've got a really high price market, which I don't. So those are the two things that you can do. Now, we're going to experiment with textures on clay. And to give you just a rough idea before we get into the ideas I have, this is a whoop-de-doo mold that I did earlier, and you can see where I put a texture on it. Instead of it being smooth, like most of my whoop-de-doo molds, this one has a texture. You'll never guess what I used to make this texture. I used a piece of rebar, and I just rolled the rebar over the clay after I smoothed it out on the whoop-de-doo pre-mold. I just went ahead and just rolled it just like that. Just let it roll, and it put this really neat, almost fishbone looking pattern on it. So, you know, that's one of the things that you can do, and that's the only one I have finished. So what we're going to do now is together we're going to do some things that I've never done before. So we'll do the successes together, and we'll do the failures together. All right, I have pre-rolled this clay. I've got about 6 pieces that I've pre-rolled. This one still has some texture from the mat, the roller mat on it, and we're not going to go ahead and worry about that right now because we're going to put a rather heavy texture on this, and we're going to see how it does. This is just regular clay. This happens to be fires about mid-fire. Whatever clay that you use only has to be considered depending on what kind of glaze you're going to use, if you're going to glaze it. There's no problem with glass at all because the glass is not going to get hot enough to do anything. So let's start off with the easiest and the simplest, and that's these things. And it's really neat. I bought these on Amazon. They are not designed for clay. They're designed for that fondant or whatever you call that candy stuff you make stuff out of for cooking and baking, and that's what they're designed to roll on. I thought they were neat. I got this whole set for about 13 bucks delivered. I've never used them, so we're going to use one. And let's see, let's go with the pink one with the roses on it, because it seems to have roses and hearts, and we're going to roll it and we're going to see how it does. Now, I did purchase this one. The main idea on this video is to do stuff that you find around your shop, but I have these. I've never used them, so we're going to see how they work. I'm just going to go with this thing really simple. I'm going to put pressure on it one time, pretty good bit of pressure, and I'm just going to roll it on down, and the clay's skeeching out there just a little bit, but that's fine. This is all about ideas. You know, you guys run with it. I've never done this before. It's not my idea. Texturing slabs as old as the hills, but I just got to thinking, what could we do? All right, can you see this? Let's see if we can zoom in just a tad on it and see if you can see any better than what you got. Okay, that's not bad. If you wanted to say use this and put a piece of glass on it and it would slump, you know, once you fired this, you'd go ahead and fire this to bisque, then you'd coat it with a glass release, and that goes for all the stuff I'm fixing to show you. And then after you have the glass release on it and it's been fired to bisque and glass release, then you can put whatever you want on it. Any kind of design, any kind of size glass that will fit on this, and that's what you use. And I think there's 8 or 10 different designs on Amazon. It's just those are the 5 that I got. So let's get another piece of clay and try something else. That seemed to work fair. All right, we have another piece of clay here. Let me back out just a little bit. We're not going to back out a lot because you can see it better. Okay, there we go. We have this piece of clay, and all this clay is about 1/4 to 3/8 inches thick. You make it whatever you want it. This is, like I said, not a tutorial. This is just an idea. And to see how it works. Now this one's going to get you. This one's going to be neat. We're going to roll this one with a piece of wood. I thought wood design on this would be really neat. So I went out and found me a little sweet gum sapling because it had the most pronounced bark. And I thought I'd see how it rolled. I even cut a little knot off right there. See where I cut that knot off? So what we're going to do is we're going to roll this rascal down here pretty hard. Hopefully it won't stick to the wood and we'll get a bark pattern. Let's just see what we get. Man, I don't have any idea. If it leaves any little pieces of bark in the clay, then it's not a big deal. It will burn off if you can't pick it out. Wow, that's pretty good. Now right along in here, it looks like it could have used a little. And there again, this is all the first time. You'll have to experiment with how hard you push on it. But look at that. That's pretty doggone neat. And there again, you can do glass on it, or you can paint it if you thought that you just wanted a piece of bark for some kind of a ceramic thing. That's pretty good. So let's go get something else and try another one. Real pleased with the wood, and of course, using the wood, you can use any kind of wood that you want. All right, here we go. Here's another one. Now, you know, you already know. I don't have to tell you this, but I will. Make these the size you want them. The size that fits your kiln, the size that fits your project. Usually, those commercially made ones are 7 by 13. Most of these here are 6 by 12 or whatever the clay just kind of run through the roller at. I didn't get particularly carried away with it. Let's see what we got over here next that we can roll on there. Okay, we're gonna try this because this is the one I don't think is going to work the most. This is a bottle. I picked this bottle up at the recycle center because I thought it was really neat. And it has these little column things at the bottom, and it has some floral at the top. So we're going to make 2 passes. We're going to start here, and we're going to roll just like this on this one, all the way down. See what we get. And then we're going to come back. We're going to turn it over. Well, we'll have to pull it out of your way a little. Turn it over and roll the bottom. And let's just see what we get. A lot of these pieces that I'm doing right here will never see anything other than to be wadded up and put back in my clay bunch. All right, that did work. It just, you know, again, you have to kind of experiment. How hard do I push it? What do I get in the process? What am I going to use for a pattern? But there you go. That's just a bottle. This is all about what you can come up with. So we're getting pretty close to the back of this thing here. All right, I've already showed you what you can do with a piece of rebar. This is just a bigger piece of rebar. So let's just roll it down here. We have 2 more pieces left over there to clay to try to use. So we're going to go through all of this. And this rebar is the last rolling piece that I have. Okay? I don't have anything else to roll. But I'm sure if I went outside and I looked around long enough, I'd come up with something else. Because you can just make this stuff. And then, you know, just used, found things. But there you go. See, that put a really nice kind of herringbone, fishbone, whatever pattern on that piece of clay. Okay, the last thing that we're going to do, and I may use 2 different pieces of clay for this, but first thing we're going to do is we're going to make some impressions with some little tools that I made. Okay? And what these are nothing but resin casts from little silicone molds that I buy. I've got a video on how to make these things somewhere. And on the back, I just put a dowel. I glued a dowel with super glue. Now, super glue is not going to be the best thing you ever used, and it's going to probably break off. And here's a little tip. When you get into ones like this little Hey Kitty and the fish I just showed you, sometimes they don't want to sit flat while you're gluing the dowel to them. This is just a tip. Get you a dab of clay, put you a dab of clay on the bottom like that, and then mash it down, get it flat, and then you can glue your dowel. Okay, that's just a tip. All right, let's see which of these are going to work and how they're going to work. We're going to use this little skull first. Okay, and I know it's going to do pretty good. And another tip, you might want to put a little cooking oil or something on it. These may stick just so bad they won't work. I don't know. So if they stick for you, then you will know that you need to go to plan B. And you can use almost anything for this. It wants to stick a little bit, but not too terrible bad. A little high right there, but you see where we're going with it, okay? And just let me get a little cooking oil. We're going to see if that helps any. Okay, we're going to do this little fish here, and I'm going to put a little cooking oil on it. And I'm going to brush it just a little. Just a little. Probably put too much on it, but we're going to see what we get. It may not work. Like I said, you guys are watching the successes, and you're watching the failures right here with me. This is the first time I've done it. Go away, bug, you bother me. Okay, and that worked pretty good. It looks a little glossy, but I can assure you that will burn off. And so, let's go ahead. Let's do another one. There is a dragon. Let's try this little dragon in here. Now you see I press them down with my hand. The only reason I know to have the dowel on there is so that you can just kind of pick it up like that. Now that is not bad. And you could just go through and you can just make all kinds of patterns on this thing. This is going to be the hardest one, but we're going to try it. This is the Hey Kitty, which is popular with a lot of you guys. And we're gonna see how Hey Kitty does. I think that's what you call it. Don't you call it Hey Kitty? All right. Now, because it's thicker than the clay, we're just gonna roll it around and kind of get the impression. Okay? That ain't bad. I have done worse. And of course, all that leaves is the little fairy Tinkerbell, I think, on these particular designs. Yeah, that worked out pretty good. Now, with that said, we've done all of these, all of them that I've made, but I have a couple of other things. This one is just, you can make something out of wood. Somebody carved this and gave it to me. I had a really nice fish that I was going to use on that other last piece of clay, but Roxy ate it this morning, and she and I had words about that. but she'll probably eat another one if she can find it. So let's just try this right here. I'm not going to put anything on it. I'm just going to mash it down and see if we can get a footprint, okay? And, you know, that'll be kind of it. So let's just see what we got here. Wow, look at that. A footprint. Call it a dog, call it a wolf. Now the last thing I'm going to do is, again, it's just something laying around. And I pulled those off of a wall of a building I tore down someplace. There was just a bunch of butterflies. That one's, the wings been broke off of it. But what you can do is you can find those appliques in different places. And you just get those. And you can actually roll these into it. You know, butterflies and just all kinds of different things. Again, I want your ideas. I mean, just get outside or wherever you store all of your stuff and see what you can find. Now, this is why you need a dowel on the back. See, and it broke off, but it was already broke. So we can get this thing off. There you go. It's a little boogered up because I didn't have a way to do it, but hey, I have no doubt you guys can figure out all the stuff I've done wrong and you can make it right. So that's it. That's all you can do. You can just make all the patterns you want. Any kind of landscapes. You can do a seascape, do different kinds of fish, do whatever. And that's it on do-it-yourself texturing of clay and making a mold that you can use to glaze and paint, or you can slump glass on. So there you have it, folks. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something. I hope that it's been a little bit helpful and get your minds working, get you to thinking in a different direction. So that's it. I appreciate y'all watching. And let's see how many of these we're going to keep and how many I'm going to turn back into big balls of clay. Thank y'all for watching. I'm Captain Mike and I'm out of here.